Deputy John O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Lascian Corla. And this proposal from the Labour Party is a very practical proposal, which is responding to what is a real need in the Irish economy and amongst small businesses throughout the country. And Deputy Sean Sherlock, who has just spoken before me, has given very clear evidence of the difficulties of small businesses, and indeed Deputy Penrose last night in quoting from ISME and the research that they have done on the real difficulties that small businesses are having right throughout this country, and indeed also the lack of funding for infrastructural projects that are so important. And I want to begin by addressing the points made by some of the Fianna Fáil speakers here tonight. Now, some of them were constructive and invited constructive debate, and this is put forward in the spirit of a constructive proposal. But the fact is that there were other Fianna Fáil deputies who used, as Deputy Michael D. Higgins said, all sorts of sloganeering to hide behind the fact that their policy has basically failed and has not delivered the kind of money that small businesses need to create jobs and maintain jobs in this economy. And, you know, using terms like that we are playing to the gallery or that we're being populist, what we are actually doing is responding to the real people out there who are talking to us every day of the week. And if you want to call that populist or playing to the gallery, what it is doing is actually responding to people outside of this chamber and not hiding behind the kind of slogans that have been put forward here by the Fianna Fáil backbench speakers. And, you know, anybody who did talk about the banks as being somehow or other being able to respond to these needs, we're talking in the future tense, and we're talking about aspirations that mañana, somehow or other, the banks that are being recapitalised and that have had billions of taxpayers' money put into them will at some stage in the future, hopefully, and hopefully was actually a word that was used by, I think it was Deputy Timmy Dooley. You know, we can't live on hope. We have to provide real answers and real funding for the kind of businesses that are out there and that are in trouble. And the fact is that the banks are so preoccupied with retrenching their reserves and getting their balance sheets right that they don't have the will to address the needs of small business. What we need is a clearly focused bank whose interest is publicly driven and whose purpose is clear. Yes, of course there must be credible risk management in all lending, but what's crucial in our proposal is the ethos and the raison d'etre of what this bank would be about. Because, of course, there is always some risk in lending to business, but that risk must be informed by a government policy of giving impetus to new growth and new sustainable jobs. And the current banks, even the ones we own or partly own, haven't the capacity to focus on the two crucial areas that need money, and those are infrastructural projects and small and medium-sized businesses. And they are the two areas, the reality that's out there, that the Labour Party's proposal is focusing on. And I just want to talk briefly about, in my own constituency, I'm talking about the kind of family businesses that have been intergenerational. And they're the kind of businesses that, again, Deputy Sherlock was just talking about, that in some cases do have less than 10 employees and therefore can't benefit from many of the government schemes. They're also the kind of businesses that the commercial banks, in terms of the overall sum of money that they have been told by government to invest, and I noted that Deputy McGrath made the point and acknowledged that they're going to have to be hounded to actually invest that money. But the kind of money that they've been told to invest, I cannot honestly see those commercial banks doing the kind of painstaking work that is required to support small businesses and to get them out of the difficult times that we are in. The bank that we are proposing will have one of its clear focuses will be to address the needs of those kinds of small businesses, which we all know in our constituencies. Many of them, as I said, businesses that have been there for generations, that are at the moment in difficult times, but know that they can trade their way out if they can get the credit that they need. I'm thinking of other proposals, for example, a group of tradesmen that have come to me with a very good, viable proposal in relation to refurbishing houses to be more energy efficient, but they simply cannot get the seed capital that they need. Those are the kinds of businesses that the Labour Party proposal wants to address in our proposal for a strategic investment bank. And what this is about, and Deputy Gilmore, our leader, said it last night, it's basically focused on getting people back to work. And that is what we need to do. And we don't need to do it mañana in some kind of hopeful time or other when the government parties hope that there will be investment
Deputies, 1 minute.
coming from the existing banks and going into those small businesses. We all know, and ISME know, and the people who represent small businesses know, that that simply is not happening, and that it won't happen with the current commercial banks, because that is not their focus and that is not their concern. The only way that we will bring this country and the people of this country back to sustainable growth and back to jobs and confidence in the future is if we have a strategic investment bank, as proposed by the Labour Party, whose absolute focus will be on providing capital funding in order to get businesses up and running and in order to keep the businesses that are struggling now in business, and in order to do things like build schools and hospitals and roads and